Good morning, church.
Good morning, good morning.
Good morning. We need that like, wah, 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 or whatever. Yeah, I can't do it. Good morning, Sarah. How are you?
Good morning, Rick. I'm still cold.
You're still cold. You're still cold.
I'm still cold.
I mean, I get it. Like, it's like you look outside and it just looking outside gives you like a chill, right? Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? I look at that, I'm like, no.
It gives me a chill and just a call to my comfies and like a big old blanket.
Yes.
The surprise snow, you gotta love it.
You gotta love it. And that's the thing, we were actually talking last hour about that. Like, this morning, like, I'm all about the snow. I love it. If you live in Ohio, it shouldn't surprise. Even today, like, we weren't expecting the snow, but when it's wintertime in Ohio and you see people that are like, oh, it's snow, it's like, yeah, we live in Ohio, right? So
Rick is very judgmental.
I'm judgmental.
We live in Ohio. What do you expect?
What do you expect?
Snow.
That's like living in Alaska. It's like, why is that snowing?
Are you the type of person, like, do you tell the kids to get off of your lawn when they're like running through, like, making snow people?
No,
snowmen?
I think if they're making snowmen, like, I feel like you really can't, because, like, they could be having a moment, and you're like, man, I don't want to be that guy.
Uh-huh.
But in the same breath...
But you let them, like, 10 minutes, and then you're done. And get off my lawn.
Yeah. And then I'm throwing snowball. No.
The way that you've been talking about snow this morning, I don't actually believe that you really like it. Like,
I think
that you don't like it.
Yes. Okay. So here's the thing. I actually really, really do. I really do. I'm trying to sell that very much. I love it. It's hard when you have dogs like in the real high snow, because, they're just like, they become divas when it comes to,
Well, and your dogs, because you've got a very big dog and then a very tiny
little
dog.
Yes.
Does the tiny dog follow after the big dog through the snow?
No, see, so my little dog Charlie does his own thing. Like, he's like his own boss. And so if the snow's up to his chest, he's hopping, because he just wants to do whatever Duke can do. Duke can walk. So Duke's will let you know this.
Whatever Duke do.
Duke, yeah. So like Duke could just walk through, because he's a Labradane, so he's part Lab, part Great Dane, and he just walks through it. He loves it. Well, Charlie wants to do the same thing, but he just can't. And so like he'll just sit, and it's cute because he'll sit and just look at me and just like put his head down because his feet get so cold.
Miserable.
He's miserable.
Poor
but
buddy.
No, I love the snow. I'm selling that as much as possible. So anyway, there is rumored that apparently we're supposed to get more snow this week.
I accept it.
I'm
ready.
I know. So
we have a question.
We do have a question for you. So let's assume that this snowstorm happens and you are going to be stuck in your house for a snow day, right? You get a snow day. You still get those as adults. Sometimes. So, what are you eating and what are you doing on a snow day? When you cannot go out, you have to be stuck in the house. What are you eating and what are you doing on this snow day?
I love these types of questions. Also, this is like part of our office conversations.
It really is.
When we talk about like the upcoming weekend, it's like, okay, what are you
eating?
Yeah, what are you eating? What's the meal plan for this weekend? And usually it's junk.
It's usually junk.
Man, it's been a week. I'm just buffalo chicken dip and pretzels.
We're doing it.
Okay, so for me, so if I'm imagining it's snow day, what am I eating? It's not so much as what am I eating as much as what I'm drinking.
Okay.
And what I'm drinking is peanut butter hot chocolate, because it's nostalgic for me. My mom would make peanut butter hot chocolate like when I would go out, because I grew up in Maryland, so like we very seldom had like huge snow days.
Yeah.
So when we did, my friends and I would go out and play. My mom would make us peanut butter hot chocolate, so then come in, dry our clothes.
Okay.
Drink some peanut butter hot chocolate.
I don't think I knew that. I feel like I didn't know. For some reason, I thought you lived in North Carolina.
No, but that's where they are now.
That's where they are now. That's right.
Either way, just more south than here. So
Gotcha.
That's why I love snow now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so that's what I'm drinking, and probably eating probably chili or something. And then what am I doing? Cozying up in comfies, big blanket, and movie marathon. That is what I'm doing on my snow. Wait, what about you, Rick?
So for me, honestly, so we actually just had this conversation today because there's still a ton of snow on the ground, and we're like, you know what? We got a busy couple weeks ahead of us. So we're just gonna have a snow day today, and so we have a roast cooking in the crock pot right now, and I am all about some pot roast, and very very similar, very nostalgic. I used to have it all the time. We had the carrots and the potatoes. You know, my wife's not real big into that, so we just do the meat and then we just make some mashed potatoes, which is totally fine.
Oh yeah.
And then typically on a snow day then, today I'll be watching football, but if I'm not doing that, I am most likely probably either playing some video games or reading and or we're watching movies.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So you talk about a movie marathon. So like what kind of movies? Is it just like random movies? Do you binge a show, or is there like a trilogy or the Marvel series?
For a snow day, well, Isaac and I inevitably during some point in the year, we always pick a series to like go through again.
Right.
Probably something that we've watched. Like recently we went through all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies again.
Those are good ones. Those are really good.
Now I think actually I'm changing my answer from last time because I remember now.
Yeah,
so scrolling through Disney Plus, they have all of the X-Men on Disney Plus now.
Yes.
So I think we would probably watch X-Men.
Okay.
Like start that.
Okay. So
Hugh Jackman, Wolverine.
Oh yeah.
I love him.
Yeah. And so we actually, I know we had a conversation about this like back during Christmas, and we started last night sort of kind of fell asleep like early on, but we actually want to fire up and watch the original like Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies. So
my favorite Spider-Man. Fight me. Tobey Maguire is my favorite Spider-Man.
He was a good Peter Parker.
Jeff Reddick and I could go back and forth about this all day.
And they did a little bit, and it was awesome.
I love
but
Tobey
it was
Maguire.
in Christian love.
My favorite, my absolute favorite.
Absolute favorite.
So that's what you would be watching then on your snow day.
Yeah.
OG Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
And just cover your eyes during the third one, because that's just a train wreck.
It is. So,
but you can't stop watching.
You can't stop.
Because you got to complete the trilogy.
You do. You have to complete it.
We've got Michael hosting on Facebook. Michael says that she would be eating popcorn, coffee, convincing Sarah to play video. Michael, my girl. I would definitely play video games with you, Michael, on our snow day. Absolutely. During nap time. That's our thing.
Hey. Let's see. So you got Robin, who is saying drinking coffee, reading, and TV binging.
Jeff comes on here. He says, I hear you, Sarah. Defending my Tobey Maguire love. All right, Jeff,
the shade
let us
continues.
Tune in next week when Jeff and I take over the pre-show.
Great. It's going to be great.
And have a sparking debate of who is the better Spider-Man.
We'll
if I could just hijack this really quick, let us know if you're into Marvel, if you're into Spider-Man movies. Who was your favorite Spider-Man? Was it Tobey Maguire? Was it Andrew Garfield? Was it Tom Holland? I'll even allow for the Into the Spider-Verse, animated Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I know that's Miles Morales and not Peter Parker, but I'll even add that.
He was.
You could post him.
You could post, yeah. Which and the soundtrack is amazing. That movie.
Great movie.
So yours is Tobey Maguire.
Yeah. Sorry, I just totally hijacked this thing from a snow day to now.
And so here's what I'll say about that. If you're watching and you are a Spider-Man fan, Tom Holland has the good Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So I love Tom Holland, and he's actually old, or he plays the part very well because he's best Spider-Man. I still have to go with Garfield. Actual Spider-Man with the wit and but best Peter Parker I have to give to Tobey Maguire.
All right.
But I think Tom Holland did both. But anyway.
We'll pray for Rick, guys.
That's okay. I need prayer.
We are so excited that you're here with us this morning. We're continuing in our series, A Better Way.
A Better Way, and it's going to be good. And this week is the uncluttered pursuit of God's mission. We'll see you then.
Good morning, Living Water. So glad that you are here this morning. If you are new with us, whether you're here at the Downton campus or watching online, we are just so glad that you have chose to join us for worship. I would love to invite you to fill out the connection card. There's a card in the seat in front of you, or you can do it at lwchurch.com/connect. This is simply for us to get to know you and for you to get to know us. Following the service, if you're here at the Downton campus, if you would take your card or let them know that you filled it out online, head to the welcome desk. They have a gift card that they would love to give to you. I hear there's like Chick-fil-A and Starbucks, those kind of things. So if you're new with us, we just want to say thanks for being here. Now, my next statement is either going to make you think that I'm a parenting genius, or you're going to think I'm cruel. And either way, I'm kind of okay with it for the sake of this story. But with my children, I tend to not tell them that we're going to do things like if we're going to go to someone's house, just in case something comes up, it has to get canceled, and then they're not disappointed and whining and crying, and it just, things go better when I don't give them all the information. So yesterday happened to be family game night here at the church. Now, I did not tell them about this, that it was happening. About 2 o'clock came around, and my younger two daughters came up, and they're like, "Are we going to family game night?" And I was like, "How did you know about family game night?" And my middle daughter, Nora, says, "I saw you working on the graphic." And I was like, and she said, "It's on January 29th. And I'm like, that's the last time I'm doing work at home, number one. Yes, and then I said, number two, yes, it is family game night. I think we're gonna go, but I still wasn't like fully committed to it. Later that day, I went on Facebook and I saw that someone had commented when I posted that I like to play euchre and Dutch Blitz. And they said, "Hey, we love playing euchre. Do you want to partner with us? We'd love to do that." And in that minute, something changed in my heart. You see, the Dearies, they reached out to me, and I was like, you know what? I do want to go and be a part of that. And I just walked away from family game night just feeling so connected and refreshed and just glad that I was there. And so this morning I woke up thankful for each of you, my church family, and the way that we can come together and uplift each other. Our purpose here is to build each other up. Our purpose here is to make him known to those who don't know him. But our ultimate purpose right now in this moment is to bring him glory. And so would you stand with me? Would you lift your voice? Let's sing about our great God.
I saw Satan fall like lightning. I saw darkness run for cover. But the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. And I believe in signs and wonders. And I have resurrection power. To the miracle that I just can't get over, my name is registered in heaven. Oh, my praise belongs to you forever. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I testify by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Come together, sons and daughters, bought with blood and washed in water. Sing the praises of the Spirit, Son, and Father. Our God will finish what he started. Oh, our God will finish what he started. This is my testimony from death to life, 'cause grace rewrote my story. I testify by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. Yeah. If I'm not dead, then you're not done with us yet. Greater things are still to come. Come on, someone. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Oh. And greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from dead to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony from dead to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify. By Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. All right. Hey, good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing today? All right. I mean, how is everyone doing today? Realistically, how are you doing? Think about it. Did you come in here this morning and you riding 10 cups of coffee and you on that caffeine high? Or did you come here and you're feeling kind of cruddy this morning? Either one, totally fine, because here's the deal. If you put your life in the hands of God in this moment, whether you're feeling really cruddy or you're feeling like you're on top of the world, God's ready to do something with your life. God's ready to use you in a unique way, and God's ready to move among you in a unique way. But the first thing we got to do is just say, God, I want you. I surrender to you. On my high or in my low, in this season of life, in that season of life, I surrender to you. I trust in you, and I know that you've got great plans for my life. A couple weeks ago, we did a song, and I want to sing it again with you guys. In a moment, I'm going to teach the chorus, and the main reason this song is important is because it talks about who God is. It talks about the names of God. The many different names that we know him by. And I think a couple weeks ago I talked about how there's different seasons that you're in that you know God by a different name. You might be struggling right now to have a baby. And so you're praying to God for a provider. You might know God right now because you just got your dream job. And so you're thanking God for the provision that he gives. Jehovah Jireh, my provider. I mean, you might know God as being faithful to you, though the world seems like it's closing in around you. He might still your anxious thoughts. He might heal you. And so I want to teach this chorus again, and as we sing this morning, I really hope that you attach yourself to one of these names of God, or that you might exemplify and worship through that name to your Creator. The chorus goes like this. I've known you by 1,000 names, and you deserve every single one. You've given me 1,000,000 ways to be amazed at what you've done. And I am lost in wonder at all you do. I've known you by 1,000 names, and and I sing them back to you. Let's sing that one more time just so we got it really cemented into our heads and we know the lyrics. So that way, when we get to that chorus, I expect to hear all your voices join in with it. So it goes like this. I've known you by 1,000 names. You deserve every single one. You've given me 1,000,000 ways to be amazed at what you've done. And I am lost in wonder at all you do. I've known you by 1,000 names, and I'll sing them back to you. I call you healer. You can mend any broken heart. I call you faithful Father. You finish everything you start. My soul was made to respond. Known you by 1,000 names. You deserve every single one. You've given me 1,000,000 ways to be amazed at what you've done. And I am lost in wonder at all you do. I know you by 1,000 names, and I sing them back to you. Your love is boundless, beyond what I could dream. Your grace is patient. You're never giving up on me. I call you bondage breaker, 'cause you're handing out the prison keys. My soul was made to be free. Know you by 1,000 names, and you deserve every single one. You've given me 1,000,000 ways to be amazed at what you've done. And I am lost in wonder at all you do. I know you by 1,000 names. this moment right now. It's my firm belief that God is stirring in your soul, and God is doing something in your mind and in your heart. And if you're not sure if that's happening, actually, just stop moving and listen to God's presence and His Spirit. Still yourself for just a moment, because when you're in the presence of God, all those things that we just sang about, those things become reality. Because we're no longer stuck in this kingdom. No, we're moving into His kingdom. And God is present here right now. I don't know if you realize that. If you walked out of the door this morning and you were in a rush, if you had the cold air hit you and you were just like, oh no. I don't know what happened this morning, but in this moment, God needed me to stand up here and just remind you that He is present and here with you. And that God of a 1,000 different names that you know Him by, He is ready to be that name right now. Whether it's healer, maker, restorer. If you need freedom, if you need to live in the freedom of who God is, and if you need to live in the freedom of Jesus Christ, and He is ready for that. As we play one more song here, let your worship be directed today. I'm just overwhelmingly by this sense of what is that name of God that you're drawn to in this moment? What is that name of God for you? Hold on to that and repeat it back in your mind. Repeat it back in your mind. Repeat it back in your mind. Keep doing that. We're going to play another song, and let that drive your worship. Surrender to Him. Say, God, what is it that you have for me right here and right now? Because I know you're here right now. who was and still isn't, be through it all. Made the space between all the things unseen and this reckoning. I know I will never be alone. I know I will never be alone. There's another in the fire standing next to me. There's another in the waters holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me? Count the joy come every battle. Know it's where you'll be. And I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to it. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between within. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. Another in the fire standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me? I'll count the joy come every battle. Know it's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle. 'Cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle. 'Cause I know that's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle. 'Cause I know that's where you'll be. I'll count the joy come every battle. 'Cause I know that's where you'll be. Praise God, from whom all blessings flow, and praise Him, all creatures here below, and praise Him above the heavenly host. And praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. Amen. Thank you guys for worshiping with us this morning. Go ahead and take a seat.
Hey, welcome. It's so good to be together. Today we have the opportunity to be with the Massillon campus, the online campus, and Dalton campus right here. It's so good to be all together. We're one church in multiple locations. And I just have something I want to share with everybody this morning at the same time. As we finish up this series called A Better Way, it's been an invitation into understanding that Jesus has more for who we are. It's this ongoing growth. But we started with a question that some maybe didn't like, could be seen maybe even as a little bit sacrilegious. And I want to end the series today with that same question as we get started. And here was the question. Do you ever feel like Christianity isn't working? Do you ever feel like it's just not working? And if we're honest, I think most of us would give an answer of yes at some point. But the answer yes isn't because Jesus doesn't have enough love, grace, transformational power. It's because we disconnect from the way that He has called us to live. There's a better way. not based on just a few truths of Jesus being sprinkled into our life and then we go on living the way that we want to live. There's a better way based on the transformational power of Jesus. Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. And yes, we want to know the truth, but it's time for us to live the way of Jesus, to be the people of the way, the follower of the way. So a better way. Here's what we've talked about. I want to bring it back to you. I hope that this series has just opened the door to this, but a better way. That we would live in the unhurried rhythms of grace. That we live in the unbroken fellowship with the Father. Undivided attention in the moment. There's these things where we would become unhurried people. People who can walk slowly enough to experience Jesus fully and love people deeply. The goal is to live and to love as Jesus did. The answer isn't that we would find more time. The answer is that we would spend more time with what matters most. We're unhurried. That we're unbroken. That we would have this fellowship with God, that we would pray to Him in our waning moments, in our waking moments, in our waiting moments, in our whispering moments. There's this understanding that prayer is a lifestyle. It's who we are. It's not just what we do. Undivided attention in the moment. How many times has God had something for us that we thought was an interruption and we missed it? God lines up all these things for us, and we want to give it attention in the moment. We don't want to miss what's going on now because we're trying to pursue what might happen in the future. Now, God is doing good things. And for our students that are in here, I want you to know this, right? You're not leaders someday in the future. You're leaders now. That's how God is working. And today I want to focus on this. We are unhurried, we're unbroken, we're undivided. And today, an uncluttered pursuit of God's mission. An uncluttered pursuit of God's mission. Can we live a better way? Can we live the way of Jesus? The answer is absolutely yes, but we have to pursue it. We have to go after it. When I think about the scripture, all throughout, Old Testament to New, you will find again and again, there's an invitation to pursue God, and when you do, there's results. So in Jeremiah it says, when you seek me with all of your heart, when you pursue me, then you will find me. Jesus, when he first started to walk this earth and there was some fishermen by the sea, he said, follow me and I will make you fishers of people. There's this invitation to pursue. Jesus, in our series, we talked about this. Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I'll give you rest. There's this invitation to pursue him, and then there's a result. There's a way of life. And I'll never remember, I just got to share this with you. I'll never forget, I always remember, I'll never forget the moment that God truly put a burden in my heart. There was somebody who was speaking. I remember I was in the state of Michigan. Oh, yeah, way to go. We got Michigan lovers, way to go. I was in the state of Michigan, and I remember I was at this church. I was at a multi-purpose gym. I remember it had a green floor, and there was a guy up front who was talking about pursuing God, and then he kept coming back to this verse in 2 Chronicles 16:9 that said, for the eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. The eyes of the Lord range throughout the earth to strengthen all those whose hearts are fully committed. And he said it over and over. I had it memorized when it was done. I was like, I'm going to be the one who has my life committed. I want to pursue God. He will strengthen me. He will take me wherever he wants me to go. I don't think you're here today out of obligation. I don't think you're a part of church at Massillon or online or here at the Dalton campus just out of an obligation. That ended a long time ago. People don't just come to church because they have to. People come to church because they're looking for something. And I want to urge you to pursue. Let's have an uncluttered pursuit of God's mission in our life. The author of Hebrews was really clear about this in Hebrews 12. If you've got your Bibles, Hebrews 12, you can go to your notes on the app. It'll be on the screen. Hebrews 12, I hope it's familiar to you. If this is the first time you've heard it, then this is a gift. But this is a chapter and a couple of verses that I want you to know. Here's what he says in Hebrews chapter 12. Therefore, since we're surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up, and let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. We're surrounded by a great cloud of witnesses, all those who've gone before us, generations who've gone before us, who've paved the way for faith. We're surrounded by that. But it goes on to say really quickly, let us strip off every weight. What's that imply? That the author in the scriptures would say, let us strip off every weight. It implies that we'll be weighted down if we're not careful, right? How about the sin that so easily trips us up. It implies that it's trying. We live in this life that it's incredibly easy to have a cluttered path toward God. Right? I don't see anybody in here who's saying, I'm just faking this thing. No, we're pursuing God, but our path's incredibly cluttered. You know what clutter is, right? You've seen that. You ever walk into somebody's house that's a little more cluttered than yours? And they're like, oh, wow. We know what clutter is. You know, the sense of if you've got a bunch of little kids and they leave everything out and it's dark and you're trying to find your way to the bathroom and somebody leaves Legos on the floor. You ever experienced that? Oh, Lord had to forgive me after a few of those trips. The path gets cluttered. Cluttered, definition, a crowded or confused mass or collection. That's what happens in our life. These things get cluttered up together. If you use it in a verb format, it means this, to run in disorder, that our life would be run in disorder, that everything's out of order. We're just cluttered up. We're just grabbing whatever, trying to get whatever done. There's a movement, to declutter, right? Google declutter. There's all kinds of how-tos, how to get this done, how to organize your house and get rid of all this. And I was looking it up, and it costs about, if you want to have somebody come in and declutter your home, about $500 a day to declutter your home. They'll organize it, they'll get it all ready, and you're like, man, I'll do that. All you gotta do is grab stuff and throw it away. You know what happens when they're decluttering? They're not just throwing stuff away, they're counseling you how to break the emotional connection you have with the clutter. Isn't that a truth for us? Why is our path cluttered up? Because we're emotionally connected to things that aren't getting us to where God wants us to be, yet we're connected in, we feel we need them. An uncluttered pursuit of God's mission. Unless we clear our path, we'll naturally live in that clutter and we'll wonder, why is it so hard? So let me just say this in a really clear statement. Don't settle for a cluttered pursuit of God's mission. And I feel like we land there often. I feel if I'm not careful, it's cluttered. I feel like the weight, right, of embracing everybody else's expectations weighs me down. I feel like the weight of my perception of who I am versus who God truly says that I am. Or the weight of feeling all alone in some moments in your life, it's heavy. Or the sin that trips us up, pride and greed and lust and envy and gluttony. You know the 7 deadly sins, they're very real. They suck us in. Ultimately, it's about self-centered living. And we even cloak it in some religiosity when we say, God, bless me as I pursue the thing I want. And the path becomes very cluttered. In fact, I would just say this, the path can be cluttered with what I would perceive to be good things. Sports, when we get overcommitted to these things, it becomes the highest priority, or it could be entertainment, or it could be pursuits that we have, hobbies that we have, things that we're trying to pursue, even careers, good things that we're trying to pursue, but they become first. It becomes disordered, it becomes cluttered. We're no longer pursuing God's mission. But Hebrews keeps it clear. In fact, if we could go back to Hebrews for a minute. It talks about the clutter. It talks about the things that trip us up. We have to run the race with endurance. By the way, the author here talks about running a marathon. Jesus talks about walking. The author here talks about this marathon that we're running. How do we do it, though? Right here, how do we do it? And the author, I'm so grateful. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates, perfects our faith. How do we declutter the path? We focus on who Jesus is time and time again. We go to him, we go back to him. In fact, I would share this with you. When the scriptures get confusing, when faith gets confusing, when people have questions you don't want to answer, you go back to Jesus. Everybody I've ever talked to about their faith, even if they're not that interested in their faith, when you get to Jesus, something changes. Like, yeah, there's something there. Fix your eyes on Jesus. That's how we do this. Matthew 6, Jesus makes it clear. He says this. He's talking about all the needs. Like, I know you need clothing, I know you need food, you need to do these things, and then he goes, but seek first his kingdom, the Father's kingdom, and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. Jesus, declutter the path. Just seek God and his kingdom first, and let all the other things take their place. Seek Jesus with your whole heart. Seeking mean looking, searching, asking, craving, thinking, meditating, having your thoughts on who he is. Jesus makes a promise to us that I've seen over and over again. When you put first things first, God supernaturally helps order the rest. I'm telling you, our life is so full of all kinds of stuff, but if we will put first things first, God will supernaturally order the rest. I've seen it. Finances, I've seen it. I've seen it in people's lives, their schedule, their kids. I've seen it. If we'll do that. Order your life. Prioritize your life. Based on what? The very mission of Jesus. So let's go to one more thing that Jesus said in Matthew chapter 28. We want to live the way that he lived. We want to love the way that he loved. We want to be like him. But he's really clear. Everything Jesus taught is really crucial. But these are the last words Jesus speaks to us. What's it mean to have an uncluttered pursuit of Jesus' mission? Here's the mission. Jesus came to them and said, all authority in heaven and earth has been given to me. Therefore, go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit, and teaching them to obey everything I've commanded you. And surely I am with you always to the end of the age. Jesus leaves this mission behind as you are going. Not that you have to go to some specific destination. Maybe he calls you there, but as you go through your daily life, everywhere you go, you're doing this. You're making disciples or helping form people into Jesus' image as you've been formed into Jesus' image. None of us are perfect, but we're passing on what we've learned and received, and we give that to somebody else. To make disciples, to teach them to obey the commands. Not just teach them the commands, but that together we're learning to teach each other, learn how to truly obey. The plan for every disciple is to become part of community. When it says baptize, anybody ever seen somebody baptize themselves? Well, maybe there's that one little video of that little kid who jumps in the pool. Anybody with me on that? If you haven't seen it, it's awesome. All right. But when we're baptized into community, a community of believers. There's an identification. The mission of Jesus is once we've received this gift that he's given us, this truth, this way of life, that we learn it, but then we share it. And if all we ever do is think that our faith is about learning how to follow Jesus on our own, you miss half of it. Your transformation truly becomes whole as you learn, as you teach somebody else to do the same. And that's truly the mission of Jesus. It's a movement that has a crucial role for every single person who ever steps into the movement. It's not about serving in a particular area, doing this or doing that. It's about your life becoming more like Christ as you share with somebody else to become more like Christ. It's this multiplication movement. Maybe an easy way for us to understand it is to think about biologically how this happens with family. I want to put a picture up. Here's a family tree. So you got the great-grandparents, actually great-great-grandparents at the top. And they have children, and we come down through, and if you count everything, you'll count about 42 people coming from those two who have done what was God's first command to Adam and Eve? He said, be fruitful and multiply, right? We get it physically. We need to reproduce, right? Never mind, I kind of like doing that, but regardless, God's given us this ability to do this. We get it on an earthly, natural nature, but spiritually, we sometimes forget. The reality is, if this wasn't about a couple, it's just one man or one woman. It's sharing who you are. It's reproducing yourself. It's multiplying yourself in others. It is clearly what Jesus asked. One of Jesus' first commands when he walked the earth. When he sees the fishermen, he looks at him and says, come and follow me, and I will make you fishers of people. Come and do this. We understand that he calls us to this. Our faith is about changing our lives and changing somebody else's life. The uncluttered pursuit of God's mission is pushing everything else to the side, or understanding that everything we do, our job, the sports we play, everywhere we find ourselves, this is what we're about. It's not just the church world, it's the world where we walk alongside people. So one of the things I think the church struggles with in general is we just maintain what God's given us. Okay, if we can just be good enough in my own personal life, I'll just be a little better behavior. I don't want to get in trouble. Or as a church, we're doing fine. We're good. As long as we pay our bills. No, we're not supposed to maintain. We're supposed to multiply and share this incredible message, this uncluttered pursuit of God's mission. Share this. And so I'll just put it this way. As we think about 2022, as we think about living water in the church and where we're going and what we're about, let me put it this way. We don't maintain living water. We multiply, and we do that on every level. We don't maintain things, we multiply. On a personal level, we multiply believers, meaning we share our faith with people. We walk alongside, we help each other in this journey, and we show others how to do it in a community level, church level. That there's groups that we start or that we make room for others to be a part of this and for our world. What living water and what churches have to offer is to start and multiply new churches and create places for people to find who God is. We invite and invest. Have you seen that before? We invite people into our lives. We invest in them. That's multiplying on a personal level. When we're a part of a group, there's always room for somebody else. How do we make that? The future of the church, though, let me just say this. So here's what I believe that the Lord's been just convicting my heart of, bringing to the leaders at Living Water as well, is that the future of the church, you all know we live in this time and this place that's just, I don't know, it's wonky, it's chaotic, it's just, we don't know what's coming next. The future of the church isn't to remain the same. The future of the church is to start new churches that can innovate, new churches that can evolve into what God has them to be. You see, when Living Water started in 1987, that's what we were. That's why there's been so much fruit, because it was a new thing that started that people wanted to be a part of. We did things differently. One of the best things Living Water has ever done is planted Maslin, has become multi-site and started Maslin. We've seen the life that comes from it. And Dalton campus isn't the best thing we've done to start Maslin. Am I right? Can somebody put their hands together for that? We're so grateful, right? Because it's brought life and energy and fruit. Living Water's committed to not maintaining, but multiplying on our personal levels, on our serving levels, and as a church level. We're looking for people who are called, and we want to get behind them and support them. We want to pray, God, launch new things, start new things. And as I talk about this, there's lots of details you might want. What's this going to look like? What will we do? I'll be sharing that with you as it evolves. But I know this, God's calling us to take what we have and share it with others. We can't keep it for ourselves. We have to give it away, and that's what God's calling us to. Ultimately, as I think about who we are and what we can do, I can't do any of this by myself, nor can you. This happens when we do this together, when we're committed together. And I'll just say this, we can accomplish far more together than we'll ever be able to do apart. We accomplish far more together. And so as an action today, as finishing this series and thinking about who we are as a church in 2022, I have a specific action for you, and that is to commit yourself into ownership at Living Water, to say we're in this thing together. We're part of God's kingdom together, and I want to share that with you, but I want to give the opportunity for Maslin, for Pastor Trent. I want him to share that specifically for the Maslin campus. So, Pastor Trent, come on up. And we're out. How do you like that? Or maybe not. Hi. Okay. So now it's Dalton Online. Glad you're with us here. I want to share with you this understanding of what it means to be the church, to have an uncluttered pursuit of God's mission as the church. And so, if you would, you have these in front of you or on your seat. If you haven't looked through it, I want to look at this, then we'll look at some ownership together. But I just simply want you to know that God's doing some really good things among us. I want you to know some of the vision. I want to be transparent with you. Leadership wants to be transparent with you in terms of giving and spending and where all that goes. But more than anything, we want you to know God's doing some really great stuff. And I'll just start with this. I just want to start with the fact that to me, it's not about getting up front and talking about who's all doing what and numbers and those kind of things. But for this morning, I want to share this with you, that God's done some really cool things in people's lives. And when I share these numbers, remember, numbers have names, and names have stories, and stories matter to God, right? And so one of the things at Living Water that I just want to celebrate with you, that in this last year, we've had 85 people give their life to Jesus Christ for the first time, right? Yeah, that's right. That's part of what we're about. We've had 60 people be baptized and share their story in incredible ways and publicly declare their faith. You look on there what we've been able to give to people around the world and in our country as well and help change lives. This doesn't happen as an individual. It doesn't happen because of me. It happens because of us together in this. And if I could I'm just so thrilled with what we're able to do together in sharing with those around the world. I just want to share real quickly with you. You'll see there's a list of things that we support. All of them have incredible stories. But if I could pick one out, Samaritan's Purse is an incredible organization. And giving this year was strong, that we had extra dollars to give. And so we met with Samaritan's Purse. They actually came. They're like, can we take you to lunch? Like, yeah, you can always take me to lunch. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so, and then we're like, what do you got going on that's just, God's just in the middle of it, and we could help resource? And he said, listen to this. Venezuela is a mess. It's in and out of the news. Maybe you've heard it. It's been a mess for a long time. The inflation there, the leadership, everything is off the rails. It takes a week's salary to try to buy a loaf of bread. The people are starving. It's falling apart. He said, listen, no one's allowed into Venezuela, but we've got camps. We've got places right across the border from Venezuela in Colombia that when people come in, literally starving to death, we have food there. We have shelter there. We have warm showers there. We help them get on their feet. We share truth and life with them. And he said, revival's breaking out there. And we're like, great. I just want you to know, Living Water, we just sent $10,000 to them to help fulfill what they're doing there. Now, I will tell you this. There's some other things going on that the guy from Samaritan's Purse told me I'm not allowed to say in public or on camera, but I'll be glad to tell you after the service. Come and ask me what's happening. But because of who we are, some of you are able to do this, but I can't. I don't have $10,000 to send to them. But as a church, it's so incredible. I wish you could be there when we say, here's what we can do for you. And we do that together because of who we are. You look at what God's doing through us, and I'm proud to be a part of this church. I'm grateful that God started it. This is one of the families. This is a family that was helped coming across the border. Their story's intense, but they've been renewed and rejuvenated because of Samaritan's Purse, because we get to partner with them. Story after story could be told. I just want to share that one so you know. As you look at the budget, you look at what we do, it's about life change. It's about pursuing what God has for us. By the way, as you look at numbers, if you're interested in those, just know that we'd be glad to share more specifics with you, detailed budgets, expenses. Just email Deb. It's in the paper right there of the email address for you to email. If you would, grab your ownership card. I just want to walk through this with you and talk about what it is that together we're committing to. If you're online, know that you can go to the homepage of the app and hit ownership. It'll take you there as well. But ownership at Living Water, first and foremost, many churches do membership. That's where you go through a class, you stand up front at some point, say, I want to be a member, and then you're a member the rest of that time. And then a lot of times what happens at churches, not all churches, but then they'll be like, who's Billy Bob Jones? And we've never seen him before, but he's on the ownership list. What do we do with that? So years ago, we decided to say, how about we just talk about ownership every year and allow people to recommit themselves to what it is that God's doing here. And so that's what we do. Ownership, each year, we recommit to it together. What's it mean? I'm committing to, and you'll see it's grow, serve, and give. I'm committing to this, to thrive spiritually by praying and studying the Bible. What's it mean for us to be a church in uncluttered pursuit of God? It means that there's people in our church who are pursuing God themselves, praying, studying the scripture, reading, growing, podcasts, you name it, whatever it is, but we're taking in more of who God is in our life. I'm committed to that. I'm committed to inviting people into my life and investing in their spiritual growth. Invite and invest. And by the way, this isn't for anybody who's arrived. It's just that you simply invite somebody in, and once you're together, it benefits everybody. It benefits both people who are in the relationship together. And that I would grow by making church a top priority. I believe that when you make church, community, a priority, it spurs your growth on. You're going to grow more spiritually if you're here every week versus here once a month. It just is how it works in people's lives. You say, Mark, I'm the exception. Well, maybe you are, but most of us aren't. That will grow, that will commit to these things, that will serve. Here's the second one. I'm committing to serve, to join God in what he's doing by giving time and talents. Inside the church, outside the church, both. Some of you serve incredible amounts of time outside the church. Awesome. Maybe there's a role for you to take on. There is a role, at least a small role inside. Some of us serve a lot inside, but there's a role outside to serve that we would give. I'm committing to serve, to share my faith with others and invite them into new life. Somebody in your life this year, work, school, neighborhood, wherever it is, there's somebody who needs to know the truth of Jesus. Just be praying about that and looking for the opportunity to share it. That's what we're committing to in this pursuit. I'm committing to grow and serve and give, that we would trust God with our finances through tithing, giving 10%. The one thing I've learned and seen over and over again as a church, we tithe 10% to outreach, and God has continued to bless us. In our personal lives, we do the same. 10% is just the beginning. But some of you might go, man, I'm not even there. This isn't legalistic. Just grow toward generosity. Just choose to say, I want to give significantly and sacrificially into kingdom work. The last bullet there is lead in generosity. Look for greater ways to give. I had breakfast with a guy that I'm sharing life with here just a little bit ago, last week. We were talking about giving and his business and all that's happening. And he looked at me and goes, man, the business is growing. God's been so good. He goes, I want to get to the place where I'm keeping 50% of the business for what I need, and I'm giving 50% of the money that I make away. And I'm like, right on. You know how many people say that? More and more. More and more people are saying, I want to give, because they understand the power that's behind it. What are we committing to as a church? Ultimately, we're committing to building God's kingdom. This isn't about the kingdom of living water. It just happens to be that somehow they made me pastor here. I'm not sure what they were thinking. And somehow you wound up here, and now we're all together. All right? And we're together, so let's make the most of it, because I know we can do more together than we would ever do apart. And so the uncluttered pursuit of God's mission happens when people will take this on with heart and soul and sacrifice. As the worship band makes their way up here, as we get ready to close up, I want to challenge you to this idea of an unhurried life, right? An uncluttered life, an unbroken life, an undivided life. I want to challenge that in a way that says, be a part of a community of believers who's on a journey to fulfill what God has asked. And you know what? We've all got a lot of rough edges, but we help hone those rough edges off. Some places we're kind of dull and we need sharpened. We help sharpen each other. I want you to know that living water doesn't always make the right decision and always do the right thing, but I can promise you, from myself to the staff, to the leadership, to the key leaders at this church, there's an authenticity that we want to move forward and do what God wants us to do, no matter what. And I love the fact that we've got a code that says grace is a guarantee. Who's with me on that? Right? Grace is a guarantee that together we're doing this thing. Together we're not just a church where we show up on Sunday and say, that was nice. We're making a difference in the world. I want you to join me in that, join us in that. So the ownership card's right there. Some of you already filled it out, and you're like, Mark, just get done speaking so I can bring it up. I like that. But you can put your name, give us your email in case you're brand new with us. By the way, some of us are signing that card for the 20th year, and for some it's the first time. Awesome. But go all in a church that loves God and loves others. And let me say this, for some of you, you're looking at this like, I'm not sure this is the right church. That's okay. Find a church where you can do this. Find a church where you can go all in. I know God's calling us to that. There's no question in my mind. Scripturally, God wants you with a community of believers where you're going all in to change the world. And that's what we want to do here. And so what I'm going to ask you to do is sign that card, and if you want to commit to ownership, you can bring it up front, put it anywhere on the front, just as a symbolic action that we're in this thing. Some of you might go, I have some questions. I'd love to help answer those questions. You might say, Mark, you didn't talk about doctrine or theology. Be glad to talk about that. We try to talk about that every Sunday, I think. But what I wanted you to know is what we're about. We're not about maintaining the same thing. We're about multiplying, starting new things, changing lives. Will you stand with me this morning? I just want to pray a blessing over you, a blessing over the church. God, we're really grateful for your love and your grace, for where you've brought us from, where you're taking us to. And we're grateful, God, that we found this place and this time. You started Living Water for a purpose, and I don't think any of us were in the room that first week. We've all joined it at some point. And we're just grateful that we've got a place where we can learn and grow, where we can be sharpened, where we can be humbled, where we can be supported, encouraged. So God, we commit Living Water to you. It's your church. You're building your church, Jesus, and we want to assist you by decluttering, by getting stuff out of the way and seeing what's most important. And what's most important is that we take what we've been given and we give it away. We multiply what you've given us. So we commit that to you. I pray a blessing over every single person in this room, Jesus, that as they put you first and seek your kingdom first, you will give them all the things that they need. You'll put things in order for them, put things in order for our church. May we be a place that honors you. We're grateful for that. It's in your name we pray. Amen. Whenever you're ready, you can bring your ownership card up and place it in the front. Let's worship.
Were heaven spun creation treasures woven by his love. His careful hands, they hold us safe within his promise of calling and of destiny. We're heaven's fun creations, his pride and adoration, treasures woven by his love. His careful hands, they hold us safe within his promise of calling and of destiny.
And I will sing of all you've done. I'll remember how far you've carried me from beginning till the end. You are faithful, faithful to the end.
A father's heart that's full
we don't maintain, we multiply. We don't maintain, we multiply. And it's not so that we can keep it to ourselves. We got to give it away. It meaning Jesus. Who's on board? We're going to give him away. The eyes of the Lord range throughout the whole earth to strengthen those whose hearts are fully committed to him. Find us faithful, God. Find us faithful. Thank you so much for taking ownership. I do want you to know that over the next few weeks, you will have the opportunity, if you just weren't sure today, if you need more time to think about it, fantastic. You'll have more opportunities over the next few Sundays. Before you go, I want you to know, one of our code statements here at Living Water is that we are driven by new life. And new life is seen in so many different ways. But one of the ways that it's seen here at Living Water is through baptism. And so if you have never been baptized and you have made Jesus the leader of your life, it is time to get baptized. New Life Sunday is next week. You can still sign up. You can do that on the LW Church app, or you can pick up a card out in the lobby and then give it to the person at the welcome desk. But we are so looking forward to celebrating next week. Next, Marriage Night is February 12th. Come and enjoy a time of laughter, relaxation. Come meet with new couples. Get to know some other couples within the church. There's going to be delicious food. I hear there's going to be prizes. You can win something. So make sure you get signed up for that. I just want you to know there is a deadline for that. It is February 6th. Spots are filling up really fast, so do not wait. If you want more information, you can get that out in the lobby, or again, sign up on the LW Church app. Lastly, Ladies' Time Out is February 1st, so make sure that you have that on your calendar. If you would like to give to Living Water to further the vision, you can do so on your way out through the boxes out back, or you can do that online as well. It has been a wonderful morning. I am just so thrilled that you would be here to worship with us. We'll see you next week.